An 82-year-old man sits in a chair by the window. On the table beside him, a bank statement. 6 figures. Untouched for a decade. He's not smiling. Behind him, on the wall, a photo from 40 years ago. Younger. Healthier. Standing at the base of a mountain he always meant to climb. He never did. He kept meaning to. There was always next year. Then there wasn't a next year that his knees could handle. He had the money the entire time. Bill Perkins wrote an entire book about that man. Or someone exactly like him. His argument: most of us are going to die with far more money than we ever needed. And it isn't responsible. It's a mistake. One of the most expensive mistakes a person can make. And almost nobody warns you about it. In fact, most financial advice pushes you in exactly the opposite direction. Save more, spend less, and hope it all works out at the end. This book asks, the end of what, exactly? This is Die with Zero by Bill Perkins, a hedge fund manager who became obsessed with a simple, uncomfortable question. If the whole point of money is to buy life experiences, why do most people spend their healthiest, most capable years hoarding it, only to have the most money at the exact age they're least able to enjoy it? He's not telling you to be reckless. He's telling you that save as much as possible, for as long as possible is advice built for a world where money is the goal. But money was never the goal. Your life was. Perkins isn't a minimalist and he isn't anti-saving. He's a former professional gambler and trader who thinks in terms of risk, timing, and payoff. He applies that same lens to something we rarely think about mathematically: the timing of our own joy. Here are the ideas that make you sit with that. 1. Picture 3 trips. 1 at 25, 1 at 45, 1 at 75. Same destination, same hotel, same money spent. Completely different experiences. Because your body, your health, your energy, and even your relationships are different at each age. The backpacking trip you could do at 25 without a second thought becomes physically impossible at 75, no matter how much money is in your account. Perkins calls this your net worth of experiences, not just dollars. And unlike money, it doesn't compound. It decays. Every year you postpone an experience for later, you're not just delaying it. You may be losing your ability to fully have it at all. Sit with that for a second. Not as a guilt trip. As a fact. Money in a bank account waits patiently for you. Your knees don't. Your parents' remaining years don't. Your kid's childhood doesn't. There's a second layer to this idea that Perkins spends real time on. Health itself follows a curve most people never chart. Your physical capacity to do adventurous, demanding, memory-making things doesn't decline evenly. It often falls off a cliff after a certain point, not gradually. Which means the window for certain experiences isn't just narrowing. For some things, it closes entirely, on a schedule you don't control and usually don't see coming until it's already shut. 2. Perkins introduces a concept he calls your personal interest rate. Not what the bank pays you, but what an experience is actually worth to you at a given age versus a later one. A trip to climb a mountain might be worth 10 out of 10 to you at 30. At 70, if your knees are gone, the exact same trip might be worth 2 out of 10. You simply can't do what you once could. This means waiting to spend isn't free. It's not saving in any real sense. It's often a trade where you give up an experience worth 10 in exchange for a smaller, diminished version of it worth 2, decades later. He pushes this further with a specific framework. For every major experience you're considering, ask not just can I afford this, but when in my life will this be worth the most to me? A honeymoon trip with your spouse means something different at 28 than it does at 68. Not less valuable exactly, but a genuinely different experience, tied to a specific window of your life together that only exists once. 3. Most inheritance happens when the parents die, which statistically tends to be when their children are already in their 50s or 60s. Already established, already past the years when a financial boost would have changed the trajectory of their life. Perkins asks, wouldn't $50,000 have meant more to your child at 30, helping them buy a home or start a business, than the same $50,000 at 60, when they're already financially settled? He calls this giving while living. Transferring wealth at the moment it can do the most good, not simply whenever you happen to pass away. It's a radical reframe of what inheritance is even for. This isn't really about money. It's about presence. Do you want to hand your child a check they open in a lawyer's office after you're gone? Or do you want to be there, watching what that gift makes possible for them? Perkins is candid about why most people don't do this. Fear. Fear of running out. Fear of enabling irresponsibility in their kids. Fear of losing control over their own money while they're still alive to need it. He doesn't dismiss these fears. He argues they should be solved with actual math and planning, not by defaulting to just keep everything until I die, which he considers the least examined, most automatic decision in personal finance. 4. Perkins breaks life into rough categories. The years for adventure and physical risk-taking, the years for building a career and raising a family, the years for reflection and legacy. He argues most people apply one strategy, pure accumulation, across all of these seasons, when each season actually calls for something different. The tragedy isn't spending money. The tragedy is reaching a later season and realizing you never did the things only an earlier season could offer. And no amount of money can buy back a season that's already passed. What season are you in right now? And is there something on your list that belongs specifically to this season? Something that won't wait for you? Perkins suggests literally mapping this out. Draw your remaining years and decades, and next to each one, list what's actually possible in that window given health, family obligations, and career stage. Most people have never done this exercise, which is exactly why they default to postponing everything to the same vague, undefined, later. 5. This is the idea people misunderstand most. Perkins isn't telling you to blow your savings or ignore your future. He's telling you to actually calculate what you'll need, including a healthy margin for the unexpected, and then treat any excess beyond that as money that has no reason to exist. The goal isn't zero for its own sake. The goal is dying without regret. Having used your resources, your time, and your health in the windows when they could do the most for your life, instead of leaving a pile of unused potential behind you when you're no longer there to spend it. Ask yourself honestly, are you saving because you have a plan for that money, or because stopping feels scary? Those are two very different reasons, and only one of them is actually about your future. Perkins even puts a number on the tragedy. Most people, at the point of death, have far more money left than they'll ever need. Sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars that bought them nothing, funded no memory, helped no one at the moment it could have mattered. He isn't arguing against safety nets. He's arguing that just in case money, past a certain reasonable point, quietly turns into just in case I need an excuse not to actually live. 6. One of Perkins' most practical tools is what he calls time buckets. Grouping your life goals not by what you want, but by when you're physically and circumstantially able to do them. Instead of one long, vague bucket list for someday, you sort experiences into buckets tied to specific decades of your life. The physically demanding ones go earlier, the ones that require deep time and presence, like extended trips with aging parents, go as soon as possible, and the calmer, lower stakes experiences can wait longer. This reframes the bucket list from a wish into a schedule. Something with actual deadlines, because your body and your circumstances are quietly enforcing deadlines whether you acknowledge them or not. Write down one experience you've been postponing until later, and honestly ask whether later you will still be able to fully have it. If you have people you plan to leave money to, consider whether a smaller gift now would matter more than a larger one after you're gone. Calculate, even roughly, what you actually need for the rest of your life. Anything meaningfully beyond that number is money working against your own life, not for it. Sort your own bucket list into time buckets by decade, and be honest about which items are running out of window. This book isn't really about spending money. It's about time, the one resource none of us can save, borrow, or get back once it's spent. Perkins' argument, stripped down, is simple. Don't let fear of running out of money cost you the life that money was supposed to buy in the first place. If this made you think differently about what you're actually saving for, subscribe. Next week I'm covering The Millionaire Next Door, and why most real millionaires look nothing like what you'd expect.